Hey Dollhouse people, Whitney Labrie here, and today I'm filming from a weird location. I just remember getting a headache and then now I'm in like this really old hospital. I don't know what's going on. I hope you enjoyed the video. Today we're going to be creating a very old abandoned wheelchair. If you're interested in doing it yourself, I have several of these wheelchairs on my eBay site. The link is below. Now we'll go ahead and get started. Besides, I really need to lay down because I kind of feel like a massive headache coming on. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do to complete this transformation is get out my black spray paint and spray paint this wheelchair black. Bye-bye, chrome. Okay, so now that this is all black, I am going to start making it look more like it came from a hospital. And I'm going to start by painting it white. Now, adding the white paint to this wheelchair is really fun because it doesn't have to look great. In fact, I want it to look awful in some ways. So I'm just going to slap this paint right on there. I'm going to go in all sorts of different directions. I'm not really going to worry about my paint strokes being seen because I kind of want it to look as though the paint has worn off or that the wheelchair, of course, is really old. So I'm going to paint everything except for the wheels, and also some of the areas down by the wheels and then the footrests too. I'm going to leave those black. So yeah, I've kind of scuffed it up a little bit and left some of the black showing, left most of the black wheels showing. And then once that is all complete, and actually I do want this to be mostly dry, it doesn't have to be completely dry. But once that happens, I will be taking my metal color here, which is actually titanium, and I'm going to just start on this one side here by adding some of the titanium to the wheel area, the base, a little bit of the corners where the arm would be and some of the corners. Because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cinnamon. Now, the cinnamon I'm using is literally the least expensive cinnamon. I bought this at my local grocery store, which is called Whitney, and I think I spent $1 on this whole thing of cinnamon. And all I'm going to do is take it out while the paint is still wet. Okay, this is important because you want it to stick. The titanium paint is still wet, and I'm just going to pour that cinnamon right on top of those areas where I added the titanium. Shake off the additional and then put a little bit more on where I want it and see how that looks. Honestly, it looks fantastic already, to be really honest with you. Now I'm going to take my titanium paint again, and I'm just going to add that over some of that cinnamon area. All right, and kind of mixing it in together. So this works so well, and there's other ways to do rust, okay? And the thing is about rust is it has a texture to it, which is why using the cinnamon is so fabulous, because it gives you that texture that you need. And another way to do this, if you wanted to, if you don't have the cinnamon, is to paint with an actual acrylic rust colored paint, and then you can add a sprinkle on a little baking soda, and that will give you the same look as this. However, I will tell you that that technique does not have the delicious smell of this cinnamon. I'll tell you, we have fall right around the corner. Some of us are already celebrating fall, like myself, and adding the cinnamon to your project is just glorious. Now, once it dries and everything and sits for a while, the cinnamon scent goes away. So if you actually are not fond of the scent, you don't need to worry about it smelling up your house or anything. Once it dries, you really can't smell the cinnamon anymore. But this is the outcome of using the cinnamon, and honestly, I think it looks so good. I'm hoping that you're as in awe of this technique as I am, but I will definitely use this in other projects in the future for sure. Okay, now one of the things I'm going to add is some padding. I worked in the medical field for quite some time, and we really, our wheelchairs, we didn't just put them on a metal chair like that. That would really hurt. So we definitely had padding, and I think that this would have had padding as well, although of course it's not in that great shape. So I'm going to kind of fray out the felt that I'm using. I'm going to glue that in, and then I'm going to dirty it up with a little bit of my cocoa colored paint. All right, now we do need somebody to sit in this chair, I think. So I've got this miniature skeleton. I think I bought this at the 99-cent store a few years ago. And I think he made his debut on my channel when I did the secret room and he played One-Eyed Willie. So now I'm going to bend him a little bit. And I might even take off a few pieces to have him kind of laying next to the wheelchair. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. One of the things is about having a skeleton, something that my dad told me when I was a kid that I never really thought about. But, you know, skeletons can only stay together if they have flesh on them. So anytime you see like an old skeleton just like sitting around, that would be impossible not theoretically, literally that would be impossible. So in order for my skeleton to stay together here, I need to add some flesh. And so that's what I'm going to do. So once I kind of get him posed in a position that I think works, what I'm going to do is actually add a little bit of flesh to him to make it look like a Halloween scary rotting skeleton. All right, so the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to grab some inexpensive toilet paper. I'm going to take my regular Elmer's clear glue, but you could actually use white glue or even really tacky glue if you wanted to. And I'm just going to start putting the glue in all the joint areas, then wrapping the toilet paper around those areas, leaving some of the bones exposed. I am going to add a little doctor's gown to him or medical gown, but I still want him to have all the detail. So I'm going to go ahead and do his body in the tissue paper here. All right, and then once that's completed, he's actually just gonna kind of look like a skeleton, well, wrapped in toilet paper. And he's gonna kind of look like he's starting the process of getting mummified. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna let him go ahead and dry. And while our skeleton dries, I think it's a good time for us to take a quick break. And once he's all dry, it's going to be time to paint his body. And I'm using a cocoa color, which is like a dark flesh tone, which is perfect for this guy because, you know, he's been sitting around for a while. And I really do want him to look kind of scary, actually. Obviously, it's Halloween. It's, you know, time for the scary to come out. And I'm going to add in a little red here and there to just simulate maybe dried blood and that sort of delicious, horrifying goodness. All right, and then I'm going to let him dry. So let's take a look. Even though I chopped off one of his legs because I was going to have it sitting, I thought that wasn't probably a really good idea because this item is probably going to be stored throughout the year when it's not Halloween, and the chances of me losing that leg are probably pretty good. So I glued him back on and wrapped those joints with the tissue paper. All right, so I think he's looking pretty good so far. And now what I'm going to do is take a regular paper towel. It's got some good texture to it, and I'm going to make this really cheap gown. All right, and I'm going to pop that over my skeleton's head, and I'm going to glue it to his body. Okay, right now he looks like a little ghost, just skeleton ghost just flying through the air. I think it's looking pretty good. I think right now you can definitely see that it's a paper towel. So I'm going to paint the gown gray and let that dry a little bit. And then before it's completely dry, I'm going to take some of the cocoa color that I use. I'm going to put that on there, and also some of that reddish, dark red maroon color. I'm going to put that around as well to give the look of maybe like, dare I say, oozing body fluids, you know, as the skeleton began to decompose. All right, so let's take a look at that chair in a spooky setting. I am kind of in love with this, actually. Big fan. I'm a big fan of how this turned out, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget that if you're interested in attempting this or doing something else, I do have the wheelchairs available on my eBay website. I only bought a few of them. I'm trying to expand the eBay store into having a few extra new items as well as all the great used items that I find all the time. Don't forget to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and of course, I'd love to hear what you think in the comments below, so make sure to do that. Thank you so much for being here with me. Super appreciated. Have a great week, you guys, and I will see you next time. Bye.